So today we want to talk about something that we all are privy to, been affected by, and will continue to be affected by for times and times to come. This is not the first time we've been inside of what they call pandemic or epidemic or crisis of this sort. But this one is a little different. And so we want to have that conversation, and we want to hear from the people that are being affected by it and directly hear their stories and experiences. So that's why I set up this particular podcast, and I would love to have our guest, Mr. Mike Love. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and why you're here.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending upon what time zone everybody's in out there. I want to thank my dear brother, Rashid Hill, for inviting me to come back. Yes, the conversation was so rich and deep last time we lost control, so we had to break it up, I think, to limit the pain a little bit. But anyway,
saw your post that you were looking for these stories, and I was like, well, actually, I mean, for someone who doesn't may or may not have it, we'll get into that in just a minute. But yeah, I think I have something to share. My name is David Smith. I am a serial entrepreneur with a dumpster fire full of failures behind me until I finally learned how to turn some of those things around. And then I turned that into coaching and speaking opportunities, because most people fail at most of the things that they've tried, especially when it comes to making money online. So I take everything that I've learned and just roll that into, like I said, teaching, coaching, public speaking. And I haven't learned everything. I still work for FedEx. And again, that's something that'll work into the COVID story. So that's, I do a little bit of everything. I work full time, but I have a side hustle. I'm an entrepreneur. I have businesses. I speak and I coach. And COVID has definitely, from the very, very beginning of this thing starting, just turned everything upside down.
On our show tonight, we are excited to discuss wellness in light of COVID-19, business in spite of COVID-19. I'd like to welcome our guest today, Mr. Harvard, Mr. Roscoe. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
All right.
Perfect.
So let's go ahead and kick this off. So tell us a little bit about what you hear, what's on your mind, how things are going, and just give us some background, and then give us some context.
Man, so I grew up in the city of Detroit, okay? And, oh man, COVID has been just horrible in our neighborhoods. I mean, it's hit us bad. They say 40% of all cases is, African-American descent.
Wow.
So it's really hit us bad. We're home of the Big Four, so a lot of these places have laid workers off, because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So with that being said, you have to think of alternative ways to bring in some income to take care of your family.
Yeah.
And also being a member of Detroit, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. They say something about Detroit. It's a lot. I don't mean to speak negative on it because it's my home. I love it. But they say you either a dope boy or a prostitute.
Do you think this virus, this pandemic, this global lockdown is real? And is it necessary? And all the necessary measures that have been taken, are they proper and timely?
Well, first off, I'd like to distinguish between all three of the things you mentioned because they have nothing to do with each other. There is a virus out there. And as many people have heard me say, the flu is nothing to sneeze at. It's serious every year from October to April, every year since mankind crawled out of the caves, out of the trees. We don't know exactly when. Flu, pneumonia, respiratory attacks have weeded out people since before we started writing it down. It's one of the earliest things that medicinal people said, we got to cure this common cold. We've got to find out what's the difference between this bacteriological cold and this viral flu. It's one of the first things that human doctors, medical types, tried to figure out. Thousands of years later, there's still people thinking you take antibiotics to get rid of the flu.
It's been a little bit of everything, to be honest. In January, I quit my full-time job to kind of dedicate myself, as you said, to the contracting and networking and helping and assisting folks attaining jobs overseas, or, you know, revamping their resumes to be more marketable here in the civilian world. So of course, with that being said, when jobs shut down, people assume they don't need a resume. So I'm not, you know, doing, you know, resumes and stuff of that nature. I still have been getting, you know, a lot of stuff because people are still moving around. Like, there are jobs opening, but in people's mindset, they're like, well, I don't need to pay you to do a resume because I'm not going nowhere. So in that aspect, it did affect a little as far as my plan for the starting of the year when I did make the jump to, you know, kind of quit working for somebody else and kind of focusing on the networking group. Was to actually go in person to a lot of these events that I was posting, as far as job fairs and networking events, to kind of get resources for the group, connect with recruiters, you know, with managements and stuff like that, and bring all that information to the group. So of course I can't fly nowhere. That has stopped.
So
you know what I mean?
Here's really the question, I guess, what really is the focus of our conversation. What is your COVID story? What has COVID done for or to your life in the last 2 or 3 months?
I feel like I've had a good story, a good COVID story. I know people that are like over being in the house and they're single, so they're alone. And but me personally, you know, for the past, I mentioned this to you in the LinkedIn message, that for the past 9 years, I've worked a full and part-time job straight. So for me, COVID-19 is a vacation. You know, I'm able to finally, like, you know, work out on a regular schedule. I have a routine. I'm able to eat healthier because I'm able to take the time to cook. I've already lost some pounds that I'm trying to lose, so me and my husband are doing good on that.
Okay.
We bought bikes again, so every day I'm either hiking, biking, or running. I still get up at 6:30 in the morning, like I'm going to work, do a workout. Well, first I've really gotten into the stock market, so it's like it's my newest addiction. So 6:30 or before 6:30, I'm up, checking out the stock market, trying to invest, hoping for, I mean, a big one in the future.